almost 7:10. I apologize for the delay. We had to get our computers up and running.
McFarland, your microphone.
We did, but we weren't that good. How about now? Can you hear us?
It's working.
Let's hope so. We're going to start with roll call. All board members are present. Student reps, welcome. I can see you way down there. Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Porter, would you?
Sure.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to report from closed session. We have an appointment of a high school vice principal, Vanessa Jera. Mr. Nava motion, Mr. Neely second, and we approved with a vote of 6-0, one absent vote, Mr. Freitas. We also had conference with legal counsel on anticipated litigation, claim number 610550. Mr. Nava motioned, Mr. Porter second, to reject the claim with a vote of 6-0 to pass with one absent vote, Mr. Freitas. We also have placement of non-public school student renewals. Mr. Heberly motioned, Mr. Neely second, to approve the following placements of non-public school students. Numbers 1, 2, 5, 10, 11, 13, 14, 16, 20, 22, 25, 26, 27, 29, 31 through 37, 39 through 41, 43, 44, 48, 49, 52 through 54. You still with me? 56, 60 through 63, 66, 68, 72, 74, 75, 81, 85, 92, 94, 99, 102, 103, 104, 107, 109 through 111, 113, and 114, with a vote of 5-0 yes, 1 no, Mr. Porter, and 1 absent, Mr. Freitas. Placement of non-public school students changes. It's not as many. Mr. Neely motioned, Mr. Nava second, to approve the following placements for 22-23, and that would be the changes are number 73. A lot of numbers. Placement of non-public school students, new students, Mr. Nava motioned, Mr. Neely second, to approve non-placement students with the following numbers: 71, 76, 79, 84, and 96, with a vote of 6-0. The motion, or the motion passed with one absent vote, Mr. Freitas. And that is all I have to report from closed session. The board would like to have a moment of silence for loss. Mary Iyer, a teacher at Tokyo High School, passed away on September 15. She taught English in the Tokyo High department since 2015. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Please join us in our condolences for her family, the students, and all the staff at Tokyo High School. Aren't you ready? Recognitions. Take it away, Mr. Young.
Good evening, President McFarland, members of the board. With me tonight is the amazing PBIS team from Beckman Elementary School, and we are going to recognize this group, not only with an amazing video that their students made, but just share the amazing accomplishment of this school and this team. So, Director Susan Peterson, would you come up and share about them, please?
Well, good evening. Good evening, President McFarland, members of the board, Dr. Washer, Mr. Young. I'd like to formally introduce myself to you. I'm Susan Peterson, Director of Elementary Education, and I'm thrilled to be introducing to you a wonderful team from Beckman Elementary. Before the pandemic, this board charged staff with the task of implementing positive behavior interventions and support, or PBIS framework, to our sites. Together with our district coaches, Andrew Kayabia, pretty close, right? Joe Ward and California PBIS Coalition, sites had tools and resources to support their implementations. The California PBIS Coalition recognizes sites by using a four-level implementation recognition system: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum, with platinum being that all three tiers of the framework are implemented. Many of our sites this year, in fact, 9 elementary sites, have received this high recognition for their implementation of the framework. However, only one site has implemented the highest level or platinum level status ever, and that is our Beckman Elementary site. Yes. I have the honor and privilege of introducing to you the principal of Beckman Elementary, Gina Azevedo, and her PBIS team. Congratulations, Gina.
Good evening, Dr. Washer, President McFarland, Mr. Young, and members of the board. It is my honor to be here with my team. This is very much an effort made by all. Made instrumental by our lead PBIS coach here, Elvira Garcia. Could not have happened without her. And thanks to our amazing community. We could not be prouder of this accomplishment. We encourage everyone to come out to Beckman and take a look. It's a great place to be. But we really wanted to put this in the hands of our students. So together, thanks to our media club advisors, our students have made a video for you. We'd like to show you part of this, and depending on time, we will send you the full version. But this is what PBIS looks like at Beckman.
Good evening, Dr. Washer, school president, and the Lodi Unified Community. Oh wait, we have breaking news. Let's take you to the live feed. Beckman Bobcats, guess what? You are the only school in Lodi Unified that won the PBIS Platinum status. How did you get there? Welcome to our PBIS Focus Center. This is where we review our focus of the month. So, what does PBIS mean? PBIS stands for Positive Behavioral Interventions and Support. Behavior in a... Wait, what?
It means we get recognized for making good choices even when we think no one is watching.
So, wait, I get money?
Yeah.
No, something better. We earn Bobcat or Dojo points.
Raise your hand if you have ever earned a dojo point. Raise your hand if you have ever bought or earned things from our PBIS Bobcat store. You've gotten prizes. All of those things that you use your dojo points to buy are for PBIS. Bring the sign, and then I will add those in. Okay? Every time you bring this in, it's going to
I don't sit down because this helps me good at school and makes me be a successful student.
That is part of what we do every day here at Beckman. You guys say your pledge, you pledge to be safe, you pledge to be responsible, and you pledge to be respectful, and then you act on it by making good choices. The state of California has taken a look at the schools across the state. Schools can be bronze, they can be silver, they can be gold, and they can be platinum. One school in the entire district of Lodi made platinum. 1, 2, 3.
again, thank you for recognizing Beckman, and this is only the beginning, so we appreciate the support from the district. Thank you.
Very good.
I'm sure my board members have a few comments. Mr. Conexton,
Yeah, I do. Am I hot here?
you're on.
Yeah, I'm on. All right, cool. The district has been using PBIS in high schools and various places, and to be honest with you, what I hear normally from most teachers is that it doesn't work. What makes it work at your place?
I think probably one of the things that is most instrumental is the consistency, but it is, I think sometimes there is an impression that in rewarding the good, you don't acknowledge the other part of it. And I think that they are very much two systems that come together. So I think at Beckman, while we are encouraging our students to make those good choices every day, we also understand that sometimes they don't always happen. And we have those systems in place too to support them, but also to redirect and refocus their behaviors and then celebrate when they start making the right choices. So for us to make Platinum, one of the big things was that Tier 3 implementation, our most intensive supports. That's CEL, the social emotional learning. That's making sure that we have strong check-in and check-out. It's those safety nets for our students that are most in need.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conexton. Yes, Mr. Neely.
You know, I think you hear me okay?
No.
No.
Use my drill sergeant voice. I think consistency. I think you hit it right there. That's the thing. So many times we try something new and then all of a sudden, that didn't work. Let's go with something else. You know, and we don't stick with it. And you guys have stuck with it. And I want to congratulate you on that. You know, you've made an impact. You've made a difference outside of just the normal curriculum. So, and let's face it, some of our kids really need that extra assistance, and you guys have stepped up to the plate. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neely. I was just going to keep moving.
Just, quick question. How do you judge your success? Is there data involved?
Yes, very
academically?
much so. Yes, there is a lengthy fidelity inventory that we have to do, kind of renew every year. We were a bit daunted by COVID in the past
Right.
couple of years and being able to keep that implementation, but thanks to some adjustments we made during virtual learning and as such, we were able to still continue to meet the inventory. And thanks to Andrew and support there, you have to look at the data. You have to make sure you're having those meetings, the conversations, the documentation, tracking behaviors and incidences that occur to make sure you're on top of it and you truly are walking the walk and talking the talk.
Has this affected you academically as well?
I think so, yes. We are seeing some excited and eager learners, and that's what we want.
Outstanding. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, like my colleague, Mr. Nava likes to said, my gosh, 58 different campuses, and you are the only one to score platinum. That is no small feat. And this time next year, I hope we're recognizing the other 57 and Beckman also for this, because anything that creates a better environment for our kids, we're behind 100%. So please go back to your school, tell them how much the board appreciates this accomplishment and how proud we are of you and Beckman. So way to go.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Heverly.
I just wanted to offer my congratulations. Whatever system or program that you put in place, it's people that make the difference, and obviously you've got a great bang-up team going here, so that's great. And who benefits? The kids. So excellent job.
Thank you very much. I have a wonderful staff. I'm very blessed.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I was just going to, real quick before you go, thank you very
Can
much.
I go?
Oh, I didn't even. Mr. Nava, please go. Mr. Neely's leaning and he's impeding my vision towards you. I
Okay.
apologize.
I really want to congratulate the staff, the students, because it's teamwork that does that. And it's very important, and I'm glad that you're taking that great pride that you have in all these students, and this is what it's all about. So congratulations for your honor as a platinum. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nava. Real quickly before you go, thank you to all your staff, from your custodians to your office help, to your teachers, to your parents, to everyone that does it, because it does take a team. One person cannot do it.
Absolutely.
And I think the other thing is, obviously you figured out how to capitalize on small successes. because there isn't a large one magic bullet that kind of cures everything. So congratulations to the small successes, and with that, you got a large success. So please share our happiness for your school, and hopefully it sprinkles off on some other schools too.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Dr. Washer, where did you have? I have you down for our proclamation, but we have it, so thank you. Mr. Nava, would you like to?
Thank you. I'm honored to do this, Ms. McFarland. Before the Board of Education of the Lodi Unified School District of the County of San Joaquin and State of California, Hispanic Heritage Month. Whereas Hispanic Heritage Month celebrates the histories, cultures, contributions of those ancestors who were indigenous to North America, as well as Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. Whereas Hispanic, Latino, Latinx Americans enrich our classroom activity schools and are integrated to the prosperity of the United States, and their contributions to art, culture, education, medicine, public service, economic, human rights, and politics are immeasurable. And whereas the Heritage Celebration provides a wonderful opportunity to highlight the diversity of the Latinx community and its many rich contributions to both California and the United States. And whereas the Lodi Unified School District Board of Education encourages educators, students, and families to celebrate this year National Hispanic Heritage Month theme, Unidos, inclusive for stronger nation, by ensuring that all voices are represented and welcome to help build a strong district and community. Now therefore, the Board of Education of the Lodi Unified School District does hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th, 2022 as Hispanic Heritage Month, and encourages students, teachers, support personnel, and administrative staff to participate in activities in promotion of the Hispanic Heritage Month, proclaimed on this 20th day of September by our President, Susan McFarland, Board of Education, President, Lodi Unified School District. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nava. Any comments from our board? Yes.
This might be a little off, but I'm going to ask Mr. Nava, is it, for the definitive answer, is it Caribbean or Caribbean?
Either way.
Okay. So noise, okay.
As long as you understand that it's the Caribbean.
Okay. I got it.
Thank you, Mr. Conexid. Congratulations, and we will get that certificate to the correct people. Next up, superintendent's report, but I see Mr. Young standing, so I'm assuming you will be doing the superintendent's report.
President McFarland, members of the board, Dr. Washer is getting really good at sending me up here at this moment.
I noticed.
Yes.
She looks a little relaxed.
No, I'm actually excited to share with you. We have some pictures from the Lodi High School swimming pool. And this is drone footage, so you can get a picture of what is happening there. It's exciting as this goes in. I know, having moved here in the 90s, the Lodi High pool and the fact that you seem to play water polo while standing up was a unique challenge, but it's good to see things are moving along, and we appreciate all the work that's being done. Moving on, I would love for you to hear about Lockford Elementary School, their STEM night. It was a great evening, Friday. You may not be aware, but Lockford, Clements area is one of two areas that Amazon has chosen for what we all couldn't figure out, which was drone drop-offs of packages. So make sure you have a helmet on whenever traveling out to Lockford. No. The truth is, Amazon has done a great job of teaming up with Lockford School. It was a way for them to reach out to the community, to make them aware of what is forthcoming in this ever-changing world. They also did a great job of partnering with Lockford School. They had some drone presentations. They actually had some solar-powered drone kits that were provided by Amazon. And Michael Rogers pointed out that it was a great night to pull families and the community together to celebrate that STEM evening. So again, you can see the great things happening there. And anytime we can pull our families together and enjoy those kind of opportunities, it's unique. And to have Amazon flying in and out will be certainly a unique next step as well. And thirdly, you may not recall, we've had this thing called a heat wave, which was then followed by an incredible rainstorm that followed. But I want to report to you that our staff, teachers, paraeducators, school staff and school administrators, everyone did an amazing job dealing with the most challenging of situations with the most extreme heat. I'd especially like to point out that our M&O staff, the bus drivers and attendants, those outdoor crossing guards, because you can't be a crossing guard indoor, and the support staff, nutrition services, and so many more did an amazing job of stepping up in the most difficult of situations. And when an air conditioner went down, M&O was out there jumping on roofs, and it was hot up there, and they did an amazing job. And overall, I mean, everyone in this district stepped up during that most difficult time, and so you should be proud of the work that they did here. And then finally, I'm going to invite Mr. Leonard Kahn to come up, who has an announcement to make.
Thank you, Mr. Young, Dr. Washer, President McFarland, and the board. So it's wonderful to see Beckman get the present on their platinum status today, but I'd also like to congratulate them and thank them for something else. We had 2 schools that have completed their free and reduced meal, actually I should say alternative income form registration. For several years, a team in the Lodi Unified School District office has been developing and managing, maintaining, and encouraging the community to use online data confirmation. This is not something that's easy to do. Between business services and Dr. Salih's group, I'll mention Dr. Seah, who was instrumental in this, Director Rostameli, Director Holbert, and Director Juarez and Director Andres. All participated in developing this online data confirmation process. We found out today Beckman hit 100% of online alternative education registration. And also we found out that Needham Elementary did as well. Now, I believe I have my numbers correctly. Last year Beckman, I believe, was at 50%. And Needham was at 60%, and both of them hit 100%. So this is bringing us all into the 21st century, so congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Kahn. We have student representatives up next. Welcome. Who would like to go first? We have Perry Perez from McNair High School and Alyssa, I'm going to say your last name. I always say it wrong.
It's Lucier.
Lucier from Tokyo High School. Which one would like to go first?
Good evening, Dr. Washer, President McFarland, and members of the board. We've had a lot of activities going on, starting with sports. Our football team is 3-1 right now, and volleyball just started league yesterday. Last week, we had our homecoming game, and we crowned Erin Hernandez and Hannah Oakery as king and queen. We had a spirit week last week leading up to our homecoming game and a homecoming parade with all of our clubs involved. Some other activities we've had going on, some activities we have going on is a blood drive November 10th, and we also have a chalk art coming up where students will express themselves with art around the school with chalk. There are currently auditions for a school play going on called A Christmas Carol. We have had a Mountain Bikes fundraiser, and that was about 2 weeks ago. So this completes my board report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any comments from the board? Okay, Perry, you're up.
Thank you, Dr. Washer, President McFarland, and members of the board. I'm Perry Perez, ASB President of McNair High School, and I'd love to share my report. So, in the past month of September, we had a CTE Health Occupations blood drive on September 2nd. We're happy to announce that we collected 107 units of blood, surpassing our 100-unit goal. And then the U.S. Army visited with their AS-5 medical check, and it allowed our students to delve more into Army careers And then our counselors will be hosting their monthly Coffee with the Counselors meeting on Wednesday, September 21st. And parents and guardians are encouraged to meet in the library during first period to have a cup of coffee and speak with the counselors about their students' academic process. And then for student government, our homecoming spirit week was September 6th to the 9th. And our Disney theme was Don't Just Fly, Soar from Dumbo. We crowned our homecoming royalty with Leilani Lore and Juan Espino Cordova at the football game, as well as a class parade. Representatives from UC Davis and St. Mary's College came to present to McNair about their respective schools since college application season has started. And I had the privilege of having Scott Bakovich involved. He's a part of a company that trains student leaders and to have a better connection towards their community, and he did a wonderful job. He was quite funny. And then McNair's Avid program hosted their midnight stroll on September 16th, which is where Avid from all of the grades collaborate together to do fun activities on the football field. SOAR students of the semester, chosen by staff members for exemplifying positive SOAR behaviors, which stands for safe, organized, accountable, and respectful, will be recognized on Thursday, September 22nd during second period. They're invited to have a special brunch and receive a certificate for their behavior. And then in terms of sports, cross country had their first home race on September 14th, where boys won 2-0 and then our girls tied 1-1. Football faced off with Franklin on September 16th, as well as our girls tennis team. And then for our upcoming events, McNair Performing Arts will be holding their annual music fall concert on September 22nd, and we invite everyone to attend to watch our choir and orchestra perform. And lastly, Link Crew will be hosting their Kool-Aid Cram, where students are encouraged to take time during finals to study, relax, and to drink Kool-Aid for finals. And that's all. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Mr.
For
Knopf.
Barry, what was the score against Franklin in football? Do you know?
I do not.
Okay, no problem, no problem. I guess Mr. Freitas will tell me.
33 nothing.
33-0, they beat Franklin. This weekend, you have a good game. It should be a good game. The #1 team in that Southland Athletic Association will compete against McNair, which is Edison High School, at your place. Would that be your homecoming by any chance?
No, our homecoming was against Linden.
Oh, Linden, okay, we missed that, okay. So thank you very much. My other question for both of you is, what about the time change? How is that going? Let's start with you, Lisa.
I think the time change is going really well, especially now that students are getting into the routine of it and getting used to it. I think it was hard at first for a lot of students staying that way and practices going a little bit later, but I think now that a lot of people are used to it, they really realize the benefits of it and being able to sleep in.
I'd say the same, except our sports teams are still trying to adjust to the time change, and our younger students more so, which is quite surprising, but overall, most of our students are just really happy to sleep in.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Nava. Any other comments?
Yes, President McFarland.
Yes, Mr.
Alyssa, you all are 3-1, is that correct, in football?
Yes, that's correct.
And you have a real interesting game this Saturday, or this Friday, is that right?
Yeah, we actually are playing a team from Idaho. I think the school name is Emmett. They're coming down from Idaho, and it was because we had to cancel a game due to air quality, so they're like a substitute game. And yeah, we're all really excited. We've been making posters for it, and we're gonna have a neon out for it.
Well, I don't think I've ever heard of a team from Idaho playing
Yeah.
in Lodi Unified.
Yeah, they're I think number 8 in the state for Idaho,
Whoa.
so it's gonna be a really interesting game.
There's only 9 schools.
Yeah.
Any predictions on this game?
I honestly have no idea. I know Idaho is driving down here, so I'm hoping maybe they're just super tired.
Well, you know the routine.
Maybe we could see about sabotaging their bus and win money. Slowing it down to get that one. Well, it was a fascinating story. I'm looking at it and I'm scratching my head saying this can't be right, but you're telling me it's right, so I do appreciate that. Thanks. Perry, 3-1 also, right, with the football team. This is a great start.
I'm very excited to see the outcome. Our football team has been taking strides from the last 3 years.
All right, and Edison's a pretty big challenge, like Mr. Nava said, maybe the best in the division. This would really, I don't think you've beaten Edison in recent years, have you?
I don't think we have, but I'm hoping so. Me and my cousins are very...
All right, well, if I'm asking for your prediction. Who's going to win Friday night? McNair or Edison?
I'm all on my team. It's me and mine. Me and my high school.
All right, 100%. Well, wish both your schools and both your teams very good luck on Friday night, and we'll be eager to see the outcomes. So, very nice reports. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freitas. Any other board comments? Thank you both for your reports. As always, you could stay as long as you would. We have information for you to weigh in on, but if you have studies and things to do, just give us a wave on your way out, okay? Thank you both. We're moving on to comments from the public. I have 4 comments which we have no problem with tonight. There's a 20-minute time period that has been set aside for the public to address the board on items not listed on the agenda. Each public speaker shall limit his or her comments to 3 minutes. As always, the solid green light means you have 1 to 2 minutes left. Flashing green means 1 minute. Orange is 30 seconds. Red and beeping means time's up. And based on that, the board cannot engage in dialogue about public comments because of restrictions placed upon them by the California Brown Act. Let's start with, now, I like to take them in order, so I'm going to tell you, just kind of scratched my head. Michelle handed it to me out of the box. So my question is the first one the one that's on top or the one that's on the bottom? I'm saying bottom, right?
No.
So we're going to start with Jen. Cassie. Oh, you flipped them. Oh, wait, she's saying no. Well, I called Jake.
Yeah, no, that's probably the last one.
You think so?
Oh, totally, I know.
That's the first time I actually paused in an entire
I'll
year.
go last.
You want to go last? Okay, we're going to start with Michelle.
You can't uncall me.
No, I didn't uncall her. I was going to have to.
She's the president.
And then it's Ashley, Daniel, and then Jackie Fry, and then Jen, you're our 4th one. What'd you do, Michelle? Or same? Same.
Good evening, President McFarland, members of the board, Dr. Washer, and Leah, members sitting over here in the corner, and our public. Competition. LUSD needs to enter the race. What has been done in the past is not currently working today. By definition, the act of competing, the rivalry for supremacy over another group. We need to compete with other districts, with recruiting and retaining teachers. We are not recruiting and retaining. LUSD is not the first choice in teachers, let alone our extra support personnel or admin. We need action now. A recent survey that I was shown of teacher burnout within the state of California is over 58%. The issue is we need to not only recruit new teachers into teaching, but we need to keep the teachers you have. You need to improve salary and benefits for teachers. Students do better when teachers are compensated more. According to one study, a 10% increase in teacher salary would result in a 5 to 10% improvement in student performance. Is that not the data that we're looking for? Students gain long-term advantages from teacher compensation. Published in EdSource, August 1st of 2022. We need to strengthen our teacher pipeline. Fewer and fewer people are desiring to come into education. Part of this is around the issue of teacher salaries. That is how easy it is. And according to a recent time poll, most respondents, over 76%, agreed that low compensation for teaching discourages many people from even entering the field and as a result, we have fewer teachers looking. You alone have the power right now to raise teacher salaries and improve your workforce and the quality of the education of your students. It is important to keep the teachers you have now in the classroom. Research found that this turnover is a direct result in student performance. When your teachers are new and not highly qualified, and you keep losing those teachers and getting new teachers, you don't have the most highly qualified teacher in the classroom. Once we get them, we need to retain them. And your teachers are leaving in mass exodus. We recently heard that Tracy just offered 6% across the board for all stipends, an increase. We need to compete, not with Lammersville, not with Jefferson, but like districts. We need to keep them from going to Elk Grove, Tracy, Manteca. They are looking at those jobs. They are seeing just to pay the bills to stay afloat so that they are not on social welfare. With 22% increase in some of insurance rates that just came out yesterday, teachers are questioning whether or not they can even now afford to live on the salary because much more has been taken out in their benefits. That starts in January. Now's the time to act. We know that there is a direct correlation with salary and benefits. Please help do the right thing to keep our teachers, recruit new teachers, increase student performance for our students and our district. Let us become #1 in keeping, retaining, and student performance. Thank you.
Ashley Daniel. Welcome.
Hi there, thank you. This is my first time speaking at a board meeting, so I was kind of nervous. I was practicing all night and all day. Good evening, Dr. Washer, President McFarland, and members of the board and the public. My name is Ashley Daniel. I am a first grade teacher at Park Lane Elementary. I want to say I do not like the insurance increase. I understand that it comes with the ebbs and flows of the economy and cost of living. Teachers are not being fairly compensated for their cost of living along with the increase. Trust me. I know about fair and unfair. I am one of the very few teachers of color in Lodi Unified. Let me repeat myself. I am one of the very few teachers of color in Lodi Unified. I also happen to teach at Park Lane, a Title I school in North Stockton. My students have suffered from more trauma than you or I can imagine, and they are only 6 and 7 years old. This does not include COVID-19 trauma, and this is not fair. In the past 4 weeks, my classroom windows have been broken not once, but twice. The second time occurred 2 days after I had gotten it replaced. If you don't believe me, I have the rock to prove it. This happened all during the hottest week of the year with a broken AC unit. I still show up every day despite my 40-minute commute from Sacramento. You may ask, why do I work so far from home? Because my students deserve a passionate teacher who loves and cares for them. A teacher who looks like their students and gives them a quality education. I can't imagine the cost of medical expenses in therapy and/or recovery that come with the horrifying thought of, what if my students were in the classroom the 2 times that my windows were broken? What if the people who did it were not there just to break the windows, or they weren't there just to break the windows? If the worst were to happen, who would take my class? The amazing teachers on my site are tired of taking extra students. Good luck finding a sub that is willing to come to my class with boarded up windows at a Title I school in North Stockton with 24 or more traumatized students. Let me repeat the sentence. Good luck finding a sub who is willing to come to my class with boarded up windows at a Title I school in North Stockton with 24 or more traumatized students. So when you come together to discuss insurance rates and a fair contract for teachers, please think not once, but twice about who you are affecting when making significant decisions. And you can keep this rock. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that is a hard act to follow, but I will do my best, and you kind of gave me a good segue, so thank you. Good evening, Dr. Washer and board members. My name is Jackie Fry, and I teach 5th grade at John Muir Elementary. I wanted to let you know that the wheels are coming off the wagon at our school. I hope you will listen to my concerns and take action. Our district needs to make hiring substitute teachers a priority. Just today at John Muir, we had 7 teachers out. One was a 1st grade teacher who ended up having emergency surgery a few days ago. The other 2 1st grade teachers split her class and had classes of 34. They did all the lesson plans for her. And they most likely will have to continue to do that in the coming days because there aren't any substitutes. Our principal, Shelley Brown, taught 2 classes today simultaneously, a 3rd grade class and a 4th grade class. That is approximately 50 students in one portable classroom. Our PE teacher ended up taking a 6th grade class for the entire day while teaching his regularly scheduled PE classes. Out of the 7 absent teachers, only 3 had guest teachers. This is putting an incredible strain on everyone. A strain on our administrator, a strain on the teachers, a strain on our office staff who have to work the office without an administrator readily available to deal with issues. And who do you think is suffering the most? The students. You want to do what is best for them, right? We are trying to finish assessments and wrap up units for the end of the quarter, and I don't believe that there was much learning going on in all of these combined classrooms today. And this is not a one-time event, and it is happening all over the district. Last week, I was asked to take 15 additional students for the entire day. This would have given me a class of 45. I have a challenging group this year, and I have 3 students on the autism spectrum. I would like you to imagine 45 students in my classroom. There's not enough desks, there's not enough children or chairs, so I would have had children sitting in all the available floor space. And this scenario is becoming more and more common. Is this what we want for our students? Wasted days of learning? Let's figure out a way to speed up the paperwork for substitute teachers. Prospective guest teachers try calling and emailing the district office and get no response. Let's make those emails and phone calls a priority. I tried to call the district office yesterday because I was prepared to ask Dr. Washer or Mr. Young or any other available administrator to come to our school and teach in one of these classrooms. I couldn't get through the maze of voicemails to reach anyone before I had to teach in my own class. This is not the way to do business. Today, I asked my 5th graders to do a self-reflection on their first quarter. I asked them to think about areas they are proud of and areas they can improve upon. I'd like the district office and board members to do the same. We need some reflection on where improvements can be made for the sake of our students. We need to right this wagon before things crash and burn. Thank you.
President McFarland, board members, Dr. Washer, I'm Jen Castle. I teach at Tokay. I've been in the district 29 years. No one likes to be blindsided. 1,400 teachers were emailed on Sunday night and told our insurance rates would increase by 20 to 39%. Michelle told you 22%, my rates increased by 39%. We were told this was a district error, but that teachers would have to repay the error. For my family, this means an increase of $422 a month. We knew insurance was going up, but not by 39%, completely blindsided. So the union blames the district, then the district blames the union because the district lets teachers just, if they let us benefit from the error, then what happens to the other employee groups? They'd have to let them in on that, and who would want to do that? The teachers must pay back the money they owe from this district error. The board's probably been instructed not to talk about it, so they won't. None of this is okay. None of this is leadership. You have 1,400 teachers who are freaking out over what this means to their household budgets. We have been in impasse for months, and now this. You have newer teachers like Ashley Daniel who know that nearby school districts are still offering signing bonuses. They also know that these same school districts are hungrier and more aggressive when it comes to hiring. They have zero out-of-pocket insurance plans. If you don't believe me, check EdJoin. These teachers who clearly see greener pastures, they will leave. How will new teachers ever want to come here or stay here with this kind of chaos? Where is the servant leadership in our ranks? Where is the transformational leadership? We are lucky to still have EDDs and PhDs in this district. I am in an educational leadership program. Many people in this room have gone through similar programs. They know what I'm talking about. Authentic leadership, empathy, collaborative decision-making, intrinsic rewards, vision, change agents, stakeholder theory. So many of us in this room have learned how to approach educational leadership the right way. We know how detrimental top-down authoritarianism can be. The district and LEA, both organizations, need to learn how to take care of their people, instill trust, operate with true transparency, collaborate and incorporate stakeholders in order to really grow their organizations and do right by kids. This adversarial, secretive stance, it doesn't serve this community, and we are waiting on you to do better. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our speakers tonight. We'd like to move on to consent agenda A. Would anyone from the board like to pull anything from consent agenda A? Anyone from the public on consent agenda A? Student reps, would you like to pull
Chairman, I
anything?
move we approve routine agenda A.
Thank you, Mr. Nava.
Second.
And Mr. Neely is seconding. Any public comments? Any board comments? Student comments? I'd like to call for the vote, but first, the student vote first.
I'm sorry, President
Oh, I'm sorry.
McFarland. I need to pull item A7 for abstention.
A7 for abstention. Perfect, thank you. I'd like to start with the student votes on item A1, A2, A3, 4, 5, 6, and 8.
Yay.
Yes,
Yes.
great, thank you. And board vote on A1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. And I believe we're doing, yes, we are. Oh, we got a computer. Should I just take a verbal vote? Okay, we can wait. Is anyone else cold in here?
No, it feels great.
I'm like shivering.
Fortunately, I brought my wool jacket.
I'm like, it's blowing right on me.
Come on, man.
I'm freezing. I'm old.
Oh, you'll be hot next.
We got it?
Might have a scarf in the car.
Last time we came, I brought a blanket.
The shawl.
I did have a shawl on too.
Did you break it?
Can we go ahead and do it verbal while you work on the next one?
Get this going in the meantime.
Yes, we can do it? Great, we'll start with Mr. Nava.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Mr. Porter, yes?
Aye. Aye.
And I'm an aye, so that A1 through A8 minus A7 passes 7-0. Move to approve, thank you. Mr. Neely, motions
Second.
on A7, and was that you, Mr. Nava?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Call for the student vote on A7.
Yes.
Thank you. And board, we're gonna do a verbal again. Mr. Nava?
Yay.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr.
Aye. Aye.
And Mr. Freitas is abstaining, and I'm an aye, so that's a 6-0. That one also passes with one abstained. Moving on to consent agenda B. Does anyone have anything on consent agenda B they would like to pull?
Madam President, I move we approve consent agenda B, student discipline cases.
Yes, Mr. Nava made the motion, and Mr. Connexted, or Mr. Neely, I didn't. Mr. Connexted made the motion. Any public comments? Any board comments? Students do not vote on this, so I will do another verbal.
No, we're good, we're good.
Oh, we're good? Oh, all right. Thank you. Call for the board vote. I'm used to looking right there.
Yeah, I don't see, oh,
Yeah,
there
sure.
we go.
Consent agenda B passes 7-0.
Get one of those storekeeper leaders.
I might. Well, everything's like that direction. Let's see, other action items, OAI 1. Mr. McKilligan.
Yes, President, is this on?
Yeah.
Yes, you're
Yes,
on.
President McFarland, this approval of this item will establish a small district contribution for the confidential employee group. And this 0.8% is comparable to what was also applied to the benefit contribution for your two classified groups.
Thank you. Any comments from the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Connexted. Motions,
We'll move-
Mr.
yeah,
Nolan.
comment.
Yes, I'm gonna call. We'll start with public comments.
Sorry, sir, I am trying to load the message from my device here as the internet cut out. On the report item, it says that the Board of Education would consider this. I'm sorry, way too small for my eyes. As previous board meetings, Lodi Unified School District has approved agreements for the 21-22 school year with other employee groups, which included improvement to a total compensation of 5.87. I'd like to know what other groups got 5.87. Was my knowledge that they got 5.07. I do not believe that any group received that much. I'd like to know these other bargaining groups. Obviously, Leah is at impasse and hasn't settled 21, 22, but I don't know of any other groups that received that. So if we can find out who exactly got that 0.08 additional, it does not seem equitable or fair that this group is getting that when other groups did not, and we haven't settled ours. And we're looking at insurance increases for Leah alone starting this week, as that benefit is something that I understand may be benefiting those groups A, O, I 1 and 2, I'll speak to both of them at the same, to go towards their health cap. Well, their health cap is embedded in their salary, if I'm not mistaken, which they get a stipend of $500, which I don't think is great. But the summary of what is being stated does not seem to be accurate to me. That could be through the president explained.
Thank you.
I have Mike explain.
I was just gonna go there. Mr. McKilligan, would you like to make a comment regarding that?
Yes, Mrs. McFarland, as I stated before, this is comparable to what the two classified groups got. They applied the additional 0.8% of salary to their health benefit plan. The LPPA settlement contains stipend improvements equal to 0.8%, and the offer has also been made to Leah. They chose it on co-curricular stipends and master's and doctoral during the discussion. They have not settled yet, but that's where it is in their proposal. But all the other groups that have settled do include a total compensation ongoing of 5.87.
Thank you, Mr. McKilligan.
But can we make clear, it's not going to salary? goes to pay for the
Mr.
dental vision insurance.
I guess we'll move into board comments then.
Sorry,
That's why I
Just
said
make that
total
clear.
compensation.
I did not hear the question.
Oh, okay, make it clear that it did not go towards salary. It went towards, they have to pay for dental and vision. Everybody in the district gets dental and vision, and so this would go toward that. Okay.
Are you sharing that with?
I'm sure that whoever wants to listen to it.
Well, okay then. Any other board comments? Any public comments, additional? Okay, student comments. Based on that, let's call for student vote.
Yes.
2 yes for student and board vote.
I guess I don't get to vote.
It's not coming up. We have a problem with one
Just give them a
computer.
verbal vote.
I have the item, but I don't have the voting
Scroll up.
bar.
Scroll up.
I take it back. It's opposite my computer.
Thank God we have you.
That's why people hate going on my computer, it's opposite.
Okay, we have, board passes 6-1 with a no from Mr. Porter. Moving on to OAI 2. Mr. McKilligan, would you like to?
This is the other unrepresented group, so it's the exact same thing.
I move we approve.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Nava, and a second by Mr. Neely. Any additional public comments? Any additional board comments? Student comments? Let's call for the student vote first.
Yes.
Yes.
Great. It's 2 yes. And board comment. I'm sorry, board vote. And board passes 6-1 with a no from Mr. Porter. OAI 3, Mr. Young.
Good evening, President McFarland, members of the board. Before you this evening, I bring back to you the reorganization that we discussed at the board report and is coming back to you as an action item this evening. If we could open up the Educational Services Reorganization PowerPoint, I would appreciate that. Wait for that. Thank you. If you turn to the executive summary, I'd appreciate that. Board, this evening, I'd like to share the purpose behind our recommendation. Real briefly, I gave an individual student looking at through the lens of a student, and then the job descriptions that are provided to you today, and included the support staff that would be part of that reorganization. And ultimately, I am seeking action tonight to look at those new job descriptions, the salary range for the area director job descriptions, and I am looking to move forward with this reorganization plan. So if you would turn to the details page, which is next, I just briefly want to point out, if you look at our current model board, we have separate departments, and curriculum, elementary and secondary are in some ways silos. The way we have it set up, and as is special ed, it's not that we don't work together, but they have specific focuses in their areas. The goal of this new model is to align the department under an associate superintendent. Ultimately, we want to provide the direct support to our P12, preschool through 12th grade students within the area schools. And really, this is about getting more service and support out to our school sites in a way that's aligned and consistent preschool through 12th grade. If someone were to look at this without understanding the details, you may think we're trying to divide this district. That is not the case at all. We are trying under the associate superintendent with this reorganization to really focus and hone in our supports so that both in Stockton and Lodi, we maximize our assistance and support to our students. So just briefly, I gave you an example on the next page. Jorge Freitas Nava, our student, this fictitious student, really does represent students we have coming to our school district. The purpose of showing you this is to let you know that as we look at this reorganization, what we're trying to accomplish is being able to know our students. You know, if you were to ask a 4th grade parent the significance of A through G requirements, understanding the types of things they need to start considering as they move up through the continuum, if we were to look at the needs of each student and the skills that they need, the purpose behind this reorganization is really to align those, to start thinking forward. We know that ultimately we are in the business of high school graduation. We want to support our students in moving on beyond this education, successful in this world. We also know that great things are happening. People are working hard in classrooms, but the goal of this is to align how we focus our attention on supporting students. And so this is an example of the types of things you would see in the goal of this reorganization for our students. Moving on to the next page, I just point out to you that the area director job description is new, and because it's new, part of that action would be for you as a board to take action on the proposed area director salary range, which would be higher than the administrative director and the high school principal, as this would be a position that supervises the high school principal position. But it is lower than what exists currently, the assistant superintendent salary range. So that is part of what is here for you to consider as well. And you'll also see that hearing back from the board at our last board meeting in the report, we are creating a change to the current director of elementary position. So we are actually looking at a director of education. This is a support to the area directors to find where we need to assist the area director in making sure our students have an aligned focus preschool all the way up through 12th grade. So that will be provided to you. It'll be at the same salary range that exists currently with the director, certificated director positions that exist on our salary schedule. I heard clearly from the board they would like to see how we are supporting these areas with our classified support staff. So I provided for you on the next page after the Director of Education, the way in which we see this support occurring from receiving administrative assistance in the confidential unit for the associate superintendent, and then making sure the area directors that we have 3 admin secretaries 3s to support them at the district office and supporting them in this endeavor. The Director of Education positions would have admin secretary 2s, and because this reorganization includes 2 directors, each would have an admin secretary 2. And then I did not currently put the exact number of admin secretary 1s to support the coordinators, because that is something that we want to make sure that we understand based on the current admin secretary 1 support on the second floor of the JESC, how that group of admin secretaries are currently supporting, and they would bring back the needs that they have at that level as part of this reorganization. I did provide what existed before, which was the actual organization document. There was one minor change. The way in which they're titled, they are area director. That is the position. And so that was just an update. But this, and also from Director of Elementary, those are now listed as Director of Education. So this is the same, but there's minor tweaks with the title of those people based on feedback from the board last time. And so on our next steps, what I'm seeking this evening from you, and it's a complex request because it's not just one approval, there are multiple steps. So this evening I am bringing to you approval for the reorganization plan as presented, the area director job descriptions as they have been written and placed in this action item, that proposed salary range specifically for the area director, and the Director of Education job description. So, Board President, I'm giving you a great challenge, but I believe you hopefully understand all the different components of what I am bringing before you as a request for approval.
Absolutely. What I'd like to do is have you wait there. I know we have public comment and board comment. Board, I'd like to start with public comment and see if anyone has questions before the board makes their comments.
I think you were taller than me. President McFarland, members of the board, Dr. Washer. So last time we did this, I expressed concern because of still dividing North Stockton and Lodi. And I still am not feeling that North Stockton is not going to be treated like the redheaded stepchild like it has been. It has been for a long time. And I'm still not getting any warm fuzzies from this as far as that goes. I'm still not seeing how an area director who's in charge of all levels of education is going to be able to seamlessly transfer elementary curriculum into and morph into secondary, because they are very, very different. The requirements are very, very different. You know, one of the things I kind of like is for middle school, a lot of the middle school curriculum now is written for grades 6 through 8, and we've got that kind of gap through 6 through 8, where a lot of, well, not a lot, there are some districts in nearby, especially in the Bay Area, where they do combine middle school as 6th, 7th, 8th, rather than just 7th and 8th like we do it here. So I'm still having those questions about this. I'm still concerned that the district seems to be more concerned with what happens on the top and having somehow that trickle down. And let me just tell you that economists worldwide have said trickle-down economics doesn't work. I don't believe trickle-down administration works. If anything, we need to strengthen from the bottom up. We need to strengthen our teachers. We need to make sure that they have, first of all, we have enough teachers for our students. And then looking at the supports going up. What do the teachers need? Where is any teacher input in any of this? And is there an example of a nearby district that we can look at a case study where this kind of structure has been successful? Those are the things I would like to see being brought, instead of, okay, here's my plan, here's the salary steps, here's the job descriptions, let's go. I want to know if this works. I mean, we're talking about children here. We're talking about children here and their futures. I just still have a lot of questions, and I'm not seeing that I'm getting any of those answered tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa talked about Stockton Lodi. I see this through the lens. I've always been a high school teacher. I sit on committees with elementary school teachers. Those two worlds are really different worlds. She mentioned that. My elementary school teacher friends talk about yard duty, and they talk about teaching basic math skills, and that I admire that greatly. That is not my world. I am in the middle of college admissions, and we are talking AP literature, and we are talking Poetry Mondays, and that is where I fire. I worry that this plan does not speak to that specialization that we have always had in this district of high school being high school and elementary being elementary. I don't know that that really carries this. I don't know that someone who's always been elementary is going to get me and get my people at Tokay High School, okay? And I know that my people, my secondary people, share that concern, okay? And I am here as a representative of them. I also, my second area, Neil was with me on the beginning stages of RBET. And so was Christy Arredondo. Neil and Christy were co-chairs on our vet. And that was a collaborative teacher, administrators working together. I see this, and I see it as very upper management, hyper-focused. And I don't see the teacher concern. You saw speaker after speaker talking to you about the teacher shortage in this district and the great pain that this district is experiencing because of the teacher shortage. And I have listened to meeting after meeting where we are hyper-focused on upper management. And it seems tone deaf to me. I would like to see collaboration. I would like to see participatory governance in this district. This is what our community needs. And Neil, you were part of that. It worked so beautifully. I am calling on this district to please, please pay attention to the great need for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't sneak anywhere.
Thank you for being careful going down this road. Each step you take.
What Neil spoke about sounds very familiar to those of us who have been through PLCs. This vertical articulation about what's going on, what's going right, what kids do we need to look for, where are the scores dropping in this area. So if we need vertical articulation between our elementary and our secondary, then let's create that scenario. But as the previous two speakers talked about, this top-down, top-heavy approach, that it is separating. You are separating a conduit of a secondary person in charge of being able to answer questions. You are taking away that elementary person that is hyper-focused on everything elementary and can answer those questions. You're taking that curriculum person away that can answer those questions. You're putting platters on them instead of these plates that they're going to have to continue to spin across instead of just their area and share out, but across all the way, preschool through high school. That's too much. We have a hard enough time as it is with, and that's why we added a director to elementary, because the 35 sites was too much for one person to deal with. We need to evaluate if there is an issue with articulation, build that into the system where they're collaborating. But to change up the model at this time does not seem appropriate time or money well spent. I think we really need to look at what we can do directly to the students themselves and impact them by spending the money, time, and energy on focusing how we can best improve practices at each of those levels within our system currently. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Who'd like to go first, board?
President McFarland,
Yes, Mr. Freitas.
I know it's often used cliche, but the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. And if we want to expect different results, I think we do have to try something different. We put our full faith in Mr. Young to be the leader of this organization, and now to tell him that he can't change anything doesn't seem like a lot of sense. In fact, this also provides, I think, many different resources for all of our members of the Lodi Unified family, and I think it's going to create new opportunities. So I'm going to tee this off with, I believe is the first step of this process, which I've moved to approve the proposed educational reorganization.
Thank you, Mr. Freitas.
I second that.
Thank you, Mr. Nava. Any other additional comments? Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Connection.
I think you probably hit on these, but I just want to reiterate a few things. Is there going to be an increase or a decrease in the cost of this idea compared to what we normally are doing right now, for example?
The general fund is a decrease.
Okay, so it costs less.
I just want to clarify.
Okay.
The original reorganization has increase the number of coordinators for Title I so they can be more out supporting our Title I school
Okay.
sites.
And is this plan, is it being used elsewhere successfully?
Yes, this has actually been historically LA Unified's plan is looking at areas. At times Stockton has done it, however, they've had a significant turnover of different administrators. So it hasn't been consistent. You look throughout districts and you have pieces of these with vertically articulated supports for school districts.
And we're looking at, for lack of a better term, a trial period of 2 years, 3 years, or forever. I mean, obviously, if it doesn't work, you can always go back to the way we were doing it in the past. But nothing is this. I mean, this is for sure for 1 year. How long do you expect this to? Would we call this a trial period? I mean, I'm not saying.
No, I am not calling this a trial period.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay. Thank you.
He's on a trial period.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
kidding you, Neil.
Let me write that down, please. Okay, got it.
Thank you, Mr. Neely.
I promised Mr. Porter next, but if you.
No, George.
Go ahead, Mr.
Oh,
Neely.
okay, I thought you were just going down the road.
Well, I bounced a little.
Gotcha, all right. Neil, I'm gonna support you on this, obviously. I think this is, we need some change in Lodi Unified. If you look back over the years of the performance of our students, it's increased a little bit, but not significantly, and we are still below the state average on that. So I applaud you for coming up with an idea and trying to move forward on that. I also like the idea, you know, we say, well, I think we use the term redheaded stepchild for Stockton. And the comment is that they've always been the redheaded stepchild. Well, maybe this will be something that we can kind of turn that around and get it done with. There'll be somebody in charge of that area, the whole area. And we can maybe make some progress on that. So the question I have for you though too, you put some salaries in here. Are those, at this point, those are just suggestions? Is that correct? You're not saying that that's it?
What I'm saying is the current assistant superintendent's salary, I gave you the starting and ending.
Right.
I gave you the current administrative director, but I am asking that the board approve the salary scale for the area director position, since it's a new position and it doesn't fall at the assistant superintendent
So
level.
what you're asking us tonight is to approve the job descriptions and the salary ranges, is that correct?
And the plan.
He's looking
And the plan.
He's looking for forward movement on the
Yeah.
plan.
Yes, before you are the areas that I am asking the board to take action.
All right. Well, I'm going to support you on it. I think it's time we did some changes there. And I wish you all the luck with this. This is a big undertaking. I'm sure you're up to the task.
On my trial period, evidently.
Mr. Porter.
Yeah, I just have a couple questions. One is, you've been in the district for how many years?
Well, I started teaching here in 1997.
Right.
I left for 1 year to become a vice principal. I returned the following year, and I've been here ever since. So quite a few years.
Right. So in your vision then, you see that we need change.
Yes.
And why is that?
I believe we need to look at the child from the minute they arrive and have the end result in mind, so that the skills that they're building at the elementary school level prepare them for middle school, which can only happen when you know clearly what they need to enter into middle school. And the same is true as they go from middle school to high school. This really is intended to be a vertical approach to ensuring that our people have the support that they need to prepare our children for the high school experience that they need.
So then, in your mind, what we're doing now is wrong.
I believe, having come in as the assistant superintendent, the gap that I saw existed is that we were all working in our silos, trying to look at the needs within that silo. The attempt here is to look holistically from beginning to end in the path of each of our children.
Okay, so I like that, the idea of collaboration amongst those in charge. How would this affect someone, say, in special ed that's teaching?
So if we're looking at a teacher who's teaching RSP.
Right, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of you, but you're suggesting change. You're suggesting change, and we're looking at, I look at this as the bureaucracy of it. How is this going to affect the people that actually are involved with our students?
Within special education?
I'm using that one person as an example. I could use an elementary school teacher. I could use a middle school teacher for mathematics. How are they going to be impacted by this change? And how is it going to affect them? Because that is your soldiers. That's where the change is going to occur, not from these people. I know that. If we're going to have real change, then it comes from our teachers and our support staff.
I'm not in disagreement with you. I'm not sure what, so the question that you're asking is?
It's theoretical.
Okay.
I'm approaching this and looking at your flow chart. And I think it's great that you view this as, we have one part over here that's not talking to the other part, yeah, and all that, I get that. I'm asking you, how is that gonna filter to the people where they actually are doing the job and the impact on students? Because these people don't come in contact with students.
The goal of this plan, this reorganization, is that we work more collaboratively to look at the specific skills for our children, to prepare them for the next level.
Right.
I see pockets of those things occurring. Do we have a systematic approach to ensuring we are providing our teachers what they need? I think there's been a historical approach that says, what are they doing in kindergarten? Because they're clearly not ready. And I'll talk to any kindergarten teacher in the world and they'll say, you have no idea the challenges I have when I have a student who doesn't even know how to hold a pencil coming into the same class as someone who can read a book. Those are unique. Those are all real. The goal of this is to identify those specific skills that they need along that journey. It's a way of providing the interventions that are consistent, that we can look at a student, we know the specific skills they need and don't have yet. We are providing the supports so the teacher has those supports to what they're doing in the classroom, and that we're systematically approaching this every step of the way. So when they do enter, and I agree with Jen Castle, it is very different in an AP English class than it is in kindergarten. But the skills they learn in kindergarten are absolutely the building blocks of being successful as a writer in an AP English class, as reading at that deeper comprehension that you need. And that's why we're going to look at this vertically instead of separately.
Okay, taking your example then, where you had a student that never held a pencil or knows how to use it, and then one that can read, how is your plan going to be implemented with the teacher to support the teacher to deal with that? So this is the area that I'm having a hard time grasping. And I'm not that smart, you guys are all smarter than I am, but I'm trying to see how this helps your people that are on the front lines doing the job, the paras and support staff and the teachers. You're reshuffling the chairs here. And how does that take that teacher, and they have support for this student that can't use a pencil, and then they have accelerated support for that student that can read. Explain to me how that happens, given your plan.
This plan is at a bigger level. If you want me to talk specifically what happens in a classroom, is that what you're asking me?
You use that example, so I'm just asking you. See, what I'm trying to do is, maybe I'm just grinding this down to the micro level. I'm sorry, Mr. Nava.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to figure out how this, because I'm an educator at heart. So how does this affect me as a teacher, is what I'm trying to grind at, okay? That's what I'm trying to get at, this overall plan. Now, change is great if you have something you're trying to achieve, and you told us what you're trying to do. I'm just trying to figure out how that affects the people that actually work with students.
Can I jump in and ask a question? Thank you. So I understand what you're saying, I understand where you're going. The third question I want to add onto yours is, this is the framework, this is the base work, am I correct in my assumption on that? Of how you want it at the upper, up here in the clouds, right?
That's
So then you trickle down to where the action is
Well,
in the
to be
classroom.
honest with you, I'd like to hear it from Mr. Young.
Well, I want to make sure.
No, I'd like to hear it from Mr. Young. Or am I getting ahead? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
The two pieces I would bring you to is looking at through the lens of the individual. That was in the report, in the item.
Yeah,
To
so-
look at that student
Right.
and how we focus our attention in preparing them for what's
I
next.
got all that.
So,
Right.
I would leave you with that as the intention and the goal of that.
Okay.
At this point, this is the starting point of building in those pieces. What I can articulate to you is nothing about this plan is to try to treat Stockton or Lodi less. It is to focus our attention more for our kids. So when a child starts at Park Lane Elementary School, we have a concerted plan that is preparing them for every level up until they go to McNair High School, if that's where they attend. And we know the students and we know the skills that are a deficit, and we prepare them for what's next, because ultimately the goal of this is that that child, our children in Lodi Unified School District, would be successful because we've provided the supports, the skills, and the good, not only first instruction, but interventions. And now we've given them what they need and prepared them for what's next. And we've done it in a way that our elementary school teachers are working with our middle school teachers, that they are having specific conversations. They're vertically having those.
Okay.
That our AP English teacher is having conversations that are supported with middle school teachers and our intermediate grade teachers, so that we are looking and we know from the beginning to the end, we have a plan that prepares them for each step. That's the ultimate goal of this. I don't have every last detail of that process.
And I think I'm looking at things too granular, which is fine. Now, can we take a look at your job descriptions?
Yes.
Because I just had a couple quick questions. And I believe you had, let's go to Director of Education. And there are two things. One's kind of like, one's important. And it's under, education experience. 3 years experience in school administration, bachelor's degree from McCutter College or university required, master's degree, and K through 12 teaching experience preferred. Now, I would like to see somebody that has 10 years in the classroom. Because whenever I had an administrator come in and say, well, I've taught 3 years, I'm going to evaluate you, and I've been there for 25, my ears close. So that's one area, and I think you have that on all of your resumes, or I should say job openings, requirements, that we don't talk about how many years are in the classroom. And I think that's critical, absolutely critical, because they don't have the scars. And the other area I found kind of interesting, and this is just me reading over this, is that we have, and maybe you need to take a look at this through legal, is that under physical abilities, you have dexterity of hands and fingers to demonstrate activities, prepare materials, and operate a computer keyboard. I knew a coach out of Merced, maybe Mr. Nava can support me, who was a football coach that was in a wheelchair, and he was one of the top coach in our whole section.
Had no hands.
Had no hands? Okay. In that situation, he wouldn't be, according to this resume, able to do the job.
I took the existing director of elementary school, director of elementary job description.
Okay.
And this is language that has existed and continues to exist. I have not added anything new to what currently exists in administrator job descriptions.
I was just curious about that part. My main emphasis is I do not like the fact that we don't have a minimum of 10 years experience in the classroom. I think that is critical. I feel that way about any administrative position. That's just my personal opinion. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Mr. Heatherly.
Thank you. A couple of things that have been mentioned this evening. One is articulation, the other one is there's a great difference between elementary and secondary. Yeah, they are worlds apart. And one thing I've kind of learned being in an education family is that there's kind of a place for everybody in regards to grade level. My mother and sister were both middle school, and my wife and my son are high school. And what I like about where you're going with this is the articulation piece. Okay, so you've got a kid going from elementary to middle school. That's not a new student. We know a lot about that student. And then they become a freshman in high school. It's the same kid. We've already got the strengths and weaknesses. That is not year one. That child has been with us the whole time. We should know where to go with this child. Now, to your point that a speaker mentioned earlier is high school and middle school are so unique. And I always say, what these kids do in middle school determines where they're going to go in high school. And if we treat the kids that go through the system, that your elementary, your middle school, and there's no continuity or flow, there has to be a constant communication and maintenance of effort, I guess is a way to say it, to make sure that we're getting these kids through the system so that people know what to expect from that child and where you can move them and push them forward. Because we have to keep pushing them. It's not, okay, well, I'm 7th grade, yeah, they're just in middle school, no. Middle school those 2 grades count, they matter. It's not a wasted 2 years, and I see this as a way to hopefully bridge that. My life's work has flow charts and organizational charts too, and they're kind of encompassing different levels, and those different levels have certain concentrations, and that's where I see that excuse me, the coordinators and the directors should have that concentration and that focus of it, but you need somebody overarching of that to make sure that they're on target to get these kids through. Okay, so that part of it I really like. And you know, I had called you because I was worried about the Stockton and Lodi area, Stockton area, Lodi area. Well, after talking to you, I kind of changed, and I'm starting to look at it as feeder patterns. And the whole idea of the feeder patterns is part of that continuity. So I'm fine with that after having a longer conversation with you as to, you know, how is this actually going to work? So I guess I do have a little advantage having that longer conversation and getting a lot of those questions answered. So for your reorganization, I'm supporting it. I think let's go with it. But I did have a couple of questions, excuse me, with the job descriptions. And it's basically based around the doctorate. I certainly don't mean to insult anybody who has a doctorate. However, I think that we don't want to constrain ourselves so much in instantly cutting people out that might be great in the position. If you have a doctorate, great. I think a master's is probably far enough. I don't think we should hamstring anybody with a doctorate. Sorry, that's just not where I am, is with the whole doctorate thing. Because I really believe that when you've got your master's, that is more, I look at that as more where the kids are. And it's helping you hone a little bit more and gain a little bit more so that you can deal with the children. Because for me, that's where the rubber meets the road. I think we all know that. I mean, it's not a brainstorm here. So are these job descriptions, I know it does say a couple of them preferred, none of them are required to have a doctorate, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And are we, even by saying preferred, are we kind of getting our way from people that have a master's and we're gonna go, ooh, they've got a doctorate and this guy's got a master's, we're gonna just cast them aside? I mean, help me with that a little bit.
Looking at the job description that existed for assistant superintendent and looking at the area director, the language that exists in this existed prior. And so where it says desirable, master's or doctorate, for the hiring process, we have an interview process, and that process would be part of determining the best candidate.
Okay.
And that would be a process, though. This doesn't say it's required.
Okay, I like the part that it's not required. That's my main point about the doctorate thing. I just want to make sure we don't get ourselves too hung up on certifications and degrees and so on and so forth. Because we all think about what we've lived through, and I had a supervisor that had basically every single certification you could think of. The problem is he couldn't apply any of it, and that was bad up until the time he got released. So I would say keep it that way. Don't hamstring us as a district in trying to hire people to other positions, because there are excellent people that don't have a doctorate. So I'll leave it at that. I support it. I want to go for it. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haverly. Hi, Mr. Young.
Hello.
First, I want to start by saying I support this 100%, but let me break it down a little bit. As I started to say with Mr. Haverly, or excuse me, Mr. Porter, I see this as a base. I'm looking at it through business eyes, not educational eyes. When I look at the framework, I love the framework. I'm a North Stockton person. I've never felt like a redheaded stepchild ever in any school I was ever in with my children. I felt we did it differently. We beat to a little bit different drum, whether you're in the country or you're out deep in these parts. You're not doing it as the way proper in-town people would do it. And looking at it through that lens, I see this being phenomenal for your feeder patterns. And I'm looking at it again through business eyes. The feeder patterns I like. I like that concept. I like the idea. I also like that the sites are going to be able to communicate with like people. In other words, if you're getting, I'll use Davis Elementary is going to communicate very closely, and Live Oak is going to communicate very closely with Murata Middle, because that's their feeder schools. And from there, then they will move to the high school. So I like kind of narrowing that out. Not that they don't do it now, but to me, this buys, the way I see it through my eyes, I see this as a little more vested, a little more buying in. I like the fact that you've got a framework in place that is different. We asked for innovative, we asked for different, we asked for new. We're not going to get that if we don't give you enough rope to do that and to show us what you can do. That's not saying anything about Dr. Washer and her team, because what they did worked phenomenally till it's time for, spice it up a little bit, change a little bit, and we're asking a lot of you. We're asking for a lot of change. We're asking for people to get in the car with us and take the drive. This is the beginning, and I don't see this as top down at all. I see it how it could be viewed like that. I'm not that naive, I see it. However, you're giving the people that are gonna help support your lower, your administrators and your teachers and your CSEA workers, you're giving them a framework to start. This is just the start. We have a lot to do. I don't think anyone here on this board is sitting thinking that we don't have a lot to do. This is a great start, but if we don't get what is needed to our principals, to our teachers, to our custodians, to our bus drivers, to our paras, to our special ed teacher, I could go on, then this plan means nothing if the next plan and the plan after that, if it doesn't trickle down and it doesn't mean something and everyone doesn't buy in. So if we're not buying into the first step, then where will we be on your step 3 or 4? I'm getting in the car and I'm going with you. I have faith in your abilities. I have faith in what you've done for this district. This is the start. And for me, it's a start. I have a million questions. I could probably keep you up well past your bedtime. The problem is I'm not a teacher. I've never been an educator. I've only been a business person. So from a business perspective, I like what I see. How does it translate in the classroom? That's what I'm waiting to see. And I'm waiting to hear from the teachers, from the office staff, from the custodians, from the paras, from any CSE employee. How's it working? Does it feel different? I'm looking for a different feel. I'm looking for satisfied teachers, satisfied district employees, and satisfied students. We're coming off of something that was terrible. That doesn't mean we were in the best state when we headed into it, but we're on the cusp of change, and I know the teachers know it. They know it probably better than anybody between distant learning. They're at the end of their rope. I would be too. I know in my office, in my day, I can't get what I need every day, and I'm screaming. So I understand. That doesn't mean I'm in your classroom and I get what you're doing day to day, but I can understand the fight. I can understand the heating components being off. We have a lot of change. You have a big undertaking, and I know this is early in the game, but I want you to know I'm backing you, and I believe in what you're saying. So we're all getting in the car with you. You better be taking us somewhere really great, like Disneyland or...
Sounds like a station wagon at this point.
I'm seeing like the what's the two-tone one where they have the... I'm really dating myself. There you go, thank you. Where you just dated yourself first than me. So anyway, I want to say I'm in favor of this, but I want to see where it's going. And at any point down this process, if this board has questions or it's not working, we're going to go, hey, wait a minute, we're going to need some more explanation or we're going to need to see more details. I also have had many conversations with you about this. And it's a trickle out kind of thing is what I like to say. We're getting pieces of it. I just like you don't have I don't have everything that he has. Put it this way, he's given me enough that I'm willing to get in the car with him. Again, we better be going someplace great because we have a lot of faith in you. Did I just put pressure on you? I'm sorry.
I'm watching my blood pressure go up, so thank you.
I had a great facial expression though.
Mr. McFarland, can I have a chance to speak? This is the second time you've ignored me.
Uh-oh. I'm in trouble now. I thought you had when you...
I second the motion only.
Go ahead, Mr. Nava.
Thank you. Neil, great job. My gosh, I'm taking the experiences that I've had in organizations, okay? Talking from an athletic director to head football coach to head of the department and all those kinds of things. You need to have something like this in order for you to progress and to meet the needs of all the teachers, administrators, students at best. And you have the articulation of having those kids from 6th grade going into middle school, from middle school going into high school, and I like that. And you have the people here with their job description that is excellent. I think it's an excellent job that you gave it some thought. You didn't come out and just say, oh, I'm going to do this, this, and that. This is about the 3rd organization I've been on this board. When I first started on this board, I know that Dr. Washer changed it at that time. Then we came in about 4 or 5 years later, 6 years, she changed it again. So this is one of the things that has to be done. You're new, so it's coming from you, and we expect great results from you in that respect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nava.
Ms. McFarland, could we
Yes.
separate out the plan and the job
Absolutely.
descriptions? Because the job descriptions I'm not comfortable with in terms of the fact that they don't have any teaching experience or any length of teaching experience
Yes,
required.
I think my motion's just for the first step, which is the reorganization plan, and I think we got 3 more motions ahead of us.
Do we? Is that part of it?
That's the way I see it as
If I understand the plan.
Yes, and I don't know if you have it right in front of you where you sit, but first is the reorganization
okay.
plan.
Thank you.
Second,
Okay.
we have the area director, and then third, because it's a new salary, there needs to be a vote on the salary.
Yep.
And then the director of education.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris.
So is everybody,
So you just made me think of one thing, President McFarland, and I'm going to add to this. I'm not a teacher. And people say, why does a DA want to be a member of the Lodi School Board? Well, one, I admire the great work that the Lodi Board did. But two, if we can break the playground to prison pipeline, that's obviously very, very important to me, especially in my DA job. And getting kids graduated obviously affects their careers and creates many other options and keeps them out of prison. But one thing that I knew that, but the district taught me that we don't start trying to graduate kids in high school. We start by getting reading in 3rd grade. And this plan puts that in place, that we're watching kids every step of the way, and we're not drawing an imaginary line and saying, all right, now they're your problem. We're looking at it holistically through the entire plan. So I'm very excited that we're getting this opportunity to look at this in a new way. And I know I'm beating a dead horse, but I'm very excited to do this.
thank you, Mr. Freitas. Student reps, do you have any comments?
I have a couple of questions, if that's all right.
Great.
So I believe that your program would be most beneficial to what would be coming into McNair High School, if I'm correct.
That is the goal.
Yeah. I do in fact agree with having more support. However, I'm concerned since there's not much student contact with someone so high in administration. Would this administrator have background working in classrooms? Is that something you would like to put as a solid qualification, or is it going to be a part of the job itself?
I think when we do an interview to fill a position, the questions we ask are going to be, it's important to pull out of the applicants that they have a clear understanding of what our students need and understand the challenges that students face and how to approach that work. I want to make sure I'm answering your question. Is there anything else that I'm not clearing? Because I can tell you I am the associate superintendent. I've been a teacher in this district. I've been a vice principal. I've been a director. I've been a coordinator. I've been a principal, and I've worked with students throughout the school district. So that is at the heart of who I am and what I believe needs to happen for, people who work with our children.
And I completely agree with you. But the only concerns I really have would essentially be if this position would in turn be intimate with students. If that would be only communication with elementary school teachers and up, rather than what the plan has said with an example of a student working with those students, being a person with boots on the ground. Is that a possibility? Would that kind of intimacy with an administrator be possible with this job, or would we have to look elsewhere?
The purpose of these job descriptions, an area director, is to have oversight of ensuring that our supports are in place for our students. They need to replicate themselves. They need to make sure that they are hearing from families, from teachers, from the scores of our students, so that they get the supports where they need to go. So I do want us to have a pulse of what's going on, but I want to make sure these area directors are focusing on a bigger picture with the intent of getting the focus into the classroom, the support into the classroom. So yes, we need to be in classrooms, but no, that won't be an area director's primary job because they have oversight of the bigger picture. Does that answer your question, Ms. President?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any- You're good? Fantastic. Any other comments from the board?
I just wanted to say that we hired you, Mr. Young, to be innovative, to be an innovative leader, and I think you demonstrated that, so I'm definitely supporting you.
So moving on to next steps, it says board approval for the following. So let's start with the reorganization plan as presented on the last, at the last board meeting, slide 8. Am I looking for a vote?
You have a motion on the floor.
Yes, and I'm
Is there a
looking,
second?
I do not have a second.
I second the motion,
You did?
Mr. Freitas.
Thank you, Mr. Nava. Okay, we have a first and a second on the first item. So are we gonna be able to do? Nope.
If you're gonna vote them separately.
Okay.
Let's take apart that.
Perfect, we'll start with Mr. Nava then.
Yes.
Mr. Connected? We're doing number 1, reorganization plan as presented on the,
Okay.
on
Aye.
slide 8.
Aye.
Mr. Porter?
Aye. Yes.
And I'm also an aye, so the first recommendation passes 6-0. Area director job description. 7-0. Did I say 6? I thought Mr. Freitas was still gone, sorry.
Yeah, I don't see him. What?
Area director job description. Let's get a motion and a second for that.
I move we approve the job descriptions.
Thank you, Mr.
Second.
Nava. And Mr. Neely is seconding that. Let's call for the, I'm sorry, I didn't call on the student. Did we do a student? Should I do a student on that? Okay, let's start with the student reps. I apologize. Do you agree with the area director job descriptions?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Nava?
Yes.
Mr. Connexton?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Porter?
No.
Mr. Heatherly?
Yes.
Mr.
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. 6-1 with the no from Mr. Porter. Proposed salary range.
I want to make sure we're clear. The area director for student services is a different job description, so can you please make sure each of those is done separately?
So we have to do each.
We have an area director, and then we have area director, SELPA is the other job description, okay?
So that was the main one that we did, so you want us
That
to
is
do the
correct.
SELPA.
They're both area directors, but they have a different job description, and I want to make sure we're clear
Move
on
to
that.
approve area director self.
Thank you, Mr. Freitas. And
Second.
and a second from Mr. Heverly. So let's call for the student vote.
No.
No? Okay.
No as well.
Okay, Mr. Nava?
Aye.
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 No.
Aye.
Aye.
Can I put a comment on this, my now,
I've never had a comment
on
on,
a vote?
Yeah.
on a vote.
You
Can you?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
You look at education experience, there's nothing in there for teaching experience.
For SELPA, okay. And Mr. We stopped. I want to make sure that we're,
It's not even required.
Mr.
Aye and aye.
You were an aye? And I was also an aye, so the SELPA director passes 6-1. Mr. Porter was the no. Are we good on,
Yes, thank you, and
Thank
now you please
We're at salary
vote on the
range.
proposed salary range.
Are we gonna call for public comments on, because I didn't comment on the job descriptions because I thought you were gonna do them separately. And so I was waiting,
for the job descriptions?
well, I thought that because you were gonna discuss them separately, that you would call for public comments on them separately. So that's why.
I understand that, I understand. Dr. Marshall, what would be the best way to proceed?
You can have public comment, you still have one more left. I think probably because the item included both, that's why you expected public
Well, I
comment for
didn't.
both at that time. So I can see where that was confusion, so it's okay. If you want to take public comment, you certainly can.
Absolutely, I will always take comment. I just want to make sure that I'm clear that we voted on the area director and the SELPA director.
Yes.
And the third director, we're voting on a third?
It's the director of education.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Well, okay,
So why don't you take public comment on any of those things?
Yeah,
now?
on any and all.
Okay, yeah, because I would have, so, Dr. Washer, members of the board, Lisa Wilkins, LAA president. So, yeah, I figured since we're gonna vote on them separately, that we would have ability to have public comments on each of those separately. I, again, I have to reiterate what Dr. Porter said, Mr. Porter said, excuse me.
Not yet, working on it.
You're working on it, okay. About having classroom experience, but for SELPA, again, how can you have a SELPA director that doesn't have a requirement to have special education classroom experience? It boggles my mind to look at these and say that, you know, I personally felt that the qualifications based on and looking at what they are what they are required to do in their job, it doesn't match. There's a big disconnect because you're asking them to do some of these things, but you're not requiring them to have experience in it. So that's a huge disconnect. I mean, I worked in, you know, I worked in the private sector. I worked in tech. It's like I could not have been you know, I could not have been a project manager for telecommunications company without having telecommunications experience. I could not have led an engineering team working on fiber optic technologies without having experience with fiber optic technology. I mean, it's the same thing. How can you have somebody who's responsible for special ed but not have in the job description how much special ed experience they should have had and what type of special ed experience they had? There's a huge disconnect, and I just really disagree with a lot of these job descriptions. It sounds to me, what Mr. Young said, is that he kind of just tweaked what we have already. Well, if we're looking for a fundamental change, you don't tweak what you got. You create it from new. Or you build on what you've got, but you've got to have more meat. And I don't see the meat in here. I don't see it. So again, we're talking about trying to get children educated so they can be productive human beings, so they can break that, what Mr. Freitas said, playground to prison pipeline. Let's be innovative. Let's not use what we got. Let's do better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Washer, President McFarland, the board, after listening to all this, I just wanted to talk. My name is Bethany Harris. I'm from Claremont Elementary. I teach 3rd grade. Listening to all of the support and all of the intervention that you guys want to provide, Claremont has 5 open positions. One of our intervention System 44 teacher has to teach 5th grade this year. So we don't have a 4th through 6th intervention. The SIPS intervention that we were so excited to get for primary, we couldn't fill because the 1st grade teacher who was going to take it, we couldn't fill her position. So we have a K1 SDC, we have an RSP teacher open, both of our 5th grades are open, and then the 2nd grade teacher, the 1st grade teacher for intervention. We don't have any intervention. I have 9 students this year that scored a BR on their reading inventory. I don't get any extra help. I went to the district this summer and asked, how come other schools and how many other schools still have their intervention teachers? And I was told because they got to hire their staff. I spent all summer, my own free time, in interview after interview after interview trying to hire for these positions. This is the redheaded stepchild I'm talking about. We're North Stockton. We couldn't hire those positions to get the intervention teachers. But the other schools have 3 intervention teachers. I asked, well, couldn't we pull their intervention teacher and put their teacher back into their position? No. So I thank you, and I'm glad to hear that you want a position to make sure that interventions are provided. But until you can actually provide the teachers to do it, so thank you very much.
Thank you for opening this up for discussion, because as we heard at the beginning, that it was separate and they were looking at the plan and we thought that was just what was being voted on. There is concern with positions like the SELPA, with no special ed experience. There have been questions and issues with lack of experience and firsthand knowledge of teaching special ed and being in a admin position over special ed without that at varying levels. So your special ed teachers would certainly like to see that included. And as our president spoke about, if this is out of the box, let us really think, how do those parts match up? Because in looking at this, it doesn't match up to what is needed. And as Mr. Porter indicated, the 10 years teaching experience, there have been so many admins that don't know where that pendulum has swung back and forth because they don't have that experience. And when you're talking about interventions and building ground up, how can you relate to somebody who's been in the district under the same model for 30 years and somebody who has not been in the classroom for less than 5? So I would certainly love if this had been a study session, and maybe going forward we could look at study sessions to flesh out some of this and have more stakeholder question and answer input to kind of put our mind at ease for these votes that you're taking and decisions that you're making.
Thank you. Any additional questions or concerns? Okay, so, Mr. Young, do you have anything you want to add to that, or we're okay?
Yes, someone left their CTA pen up front.
That's mine.
I have nothing further to add. I'm sorry. The SELPA director position does deal with special education. They would have special education experience. Currently, your administrative director of special education is Paul Warren, who has been in this district a long time. He is a counselor. He has overseen the mental health clinicians in this district. However, his experience is not as a teacher. It's within LPPA, and that's where his experience has been.
Thank you. We're moving on to Director of Education, correct?
No, I believe the proposed salary has to be approved.
Okay, I thought we had,
It's not up there. It's not on our list.
it's the Director of Education.
It is, but the salary. Yeah, the salary.
Salary is, it's it's here, but I thought we had 3 as a director, am I wrong?
Yeah, 2 area directors. We've
Been wrong before.
I'm sorry. I thought you had voted for both area directors. I apologize.
Area directors and SELPA director. Am I doing Director of Education?
No.
You're correct, Mr. Farr,
Yes.
it's just in a different order.
Could you say it louder? I didn't hear it because I'm never right.
It's just in a different order above your head, that's all.
Oh, it's
I
completely a
apologize.
different
I'm
order.
looking over your head thinking you're seeing the identical
No.
thing that I'm looking at. So I apologize.
So-
You were correct.
Can I do, is it okay to do the director? You guys have a problem with? Just,
I have to.
okay.
Pick one.
Pick one. Just keep it moving.
We'll flush it out.
Director of Education, do we have any comments on that? Do we have any comments from student reps? Any comments from the board? We'll start with you, Mr. Nava, for a vote. Actually, I'd like to start with student vote then.
Do you have a motion?
Move to
Oh,
approve.
I apologize. I thought I had a motion. You moved.
Phil got some.
Mr. Neely motioned, and Mr. Nava seconded on the Director of Education. So, once again, thank you. No. No. Okay, Mr. Nava?
Yes.
Mr. Connected?
Aye.
Aye.
Order.
With a comment, no, under education experience, 3 years experience in school administration, bachelor's degree from accredited college, master's degree, K through 12 teaching experience preferred. There is no mention of number of years in the classroom, and this is going to be somebody that is in charge of your director of education, that has never really truly been an educator.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. I'm sorry, sorry, I was looking at Mr. Porter. Mr. Heatherly?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Freitas?
Aye.
I'm also an aye, so that is 6-1. Mr. Porter is the no. Now we're moving on to salary range. Any comments on salary range? I will start with student. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you move. It's in the top one, but it's slide number
What's the possibility of
9.
maybe taking like a 5-minute break?
We can take a 5 minute. Let's let Lisa.
Okay, salary range, again, I'm just going to reiterate that, teachers are still in, mediation, which I thought was confidential. Anyway, that's what I was told.
Mr. Warren, are you ready to go?
Yes.
Mr. Nava would like to be out of here before midnight.
Oh, absolutely.
President McFarland, members of the board, Dr. Washer, I'm proposing some revisions to the mental health policy statement. The proposed changes are revised hourly vacation calculations, articulated full-time and part-time service experience language, revised advanced degree stipend language, and revised health benefit language. And they're outlined in what I included. Are there any questions?
Absolutely. Any comments from the board?
I have no comments, but a great job, Paul. I read it all and it's very clear and I don't have any questions.
Is that a motion I'm hearing from you?
Oh, no, but I move that we approve.
A second.
Mr. Porter, all right. Any additional board comments? Any public comments? Student comments? Okay, I'd like to call for student vote. Yes. One yes. And board comment. Excuse me, board vote. Oh, you couldn't hear? I'm sorry. Mr. Nava motioned and Mr. Porter seconded. It's my mic.
Mic's on.
My mic's on, I just need to talk a little louder. I apologize. Board approved 7-0 for Mr. Warren. Thank you. Well, not Mr. Warren, the district, but.
Yeah.
Mr. Khan, you're next.
Thank you, President McFarland, members of the board, Dr. Washer, Mr. Young. I'd like to present Senior Director April Juarez, who will present your unaudited actuals for the 21-22 school year. And Senior Director Juarez has also invited Director 3, Adina Andres, to comment on the budgetary implications of the UA.
Thank you so much, Mr. Khan. Good evening, President McFarland, members of the board, Dr. Washer, Ms. Young. So excited to be here because once a year I get to do this. But
did you say you were excited?
Twice a year, right?
You think
too late to be excited.
You can't imagine how excited we are.
Yes,
We love budgets.
absolutely. I'm gonna try to make this as short as possible, and I'm so glad to have Ms. Director of Budget, Ms. Andrews, here to share some like what Leonard said is the budgetary impacts. So. We are presenting the unaudited actuals for 21-22 fiscal year. The accounting department has officially closed the books for fiscal year 21-22 ending June 30th. The results of the work are summarized in the unaudited actuals. The 180-page of report includes all the financial activity reports for all our district funds, general fund, all the way to our self-insurance fund. It also has ADA information for our fiscal year 21-22. Our capital assets also has a report there, our long-term liabilities, as well as ESSA reporting, MOE reporting, indirect costs, and all other good stuff. Also, so pursuant to Education Code 42100, we have to present this to the board for approval. And once it's approved, it's submitted to the County Office of Ed for transmittal to the California Department of Education. Could we, there you go. Also, the next step would be our auditors will be auditing this and reviewing the data. I know we have 3 wonderful audit committees here that will be meeting in sometime late November. So they'll be providing the report of any findings, hopefully no findings, right? So next slide. So, I'm sorry. Let's go back. Yeah, that one. So, or I think we're done with that. I'm so sorry. It's like that, right? Yes. So as the district closed the fiscal year 21-22, we ended up with an ending fund balance of $156.2 million for general fund, and the breakdown of the ending fund balance is as follows. So we have the non-expendable amount of $474,832. We do have a restricted part of that. 35 million is considered restricted, which cannot be assigned. And then the 108 million of that is the assignment, and the remaining 12 million is the 3% unassigned reserve for economic uncertainties, and that's the 3%. So next slide, please, and I'll have Director of Budget Andres to go over the assignment.
Hello, thank you, and good evening, everyone. I'll try to make this brief.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Promise. I know, when we see $156 million ending fund balance, I know it seems huge, and the question may be, how did this happen? And it is abnormally high compared to prior years. I just have, two words, cares and categoricals. They're back. This may be, I can't predict the future, this may be the new normal. So right off the top of 156, that is the ending fund balance per closing the books, right? And the auditors will come and audit us and verify that that's accurate. But right off the top, we have to deduct the $35 million in restricted, right? We have CARES, we have ELOP, so that's money that's earmarked. It's basically accounted for. And here on the screen, in addition to that, it's a lot of assignments, that would be correct, but I do want to target your attention to the very last line that says locally defined unrestricted of $9 million. So we really should be deducting that as well. But the strings for these monies don't come from the federal government or the state. It's locally defined. So the biggest pots would be our MA monies, our LCAP. They've been promised to a program manager for programmatic purposes. So budgetarily speaking, on accounting wise, yes, they're there. It's $108 million in assignments, but they've been promised elsewhere. So then when we deduct that leaves us with $99 million of ending fund balance, just running calculation. And when we compare that to last year's, where we ended the books, that was $93 million. So we're looking at what appears to be, right, on actuals, a $6 million surplus prior year close of books to this year. But one thing so we want to identify what makes up that. When we look at our unrestricted, budgeted but unfilled positions on the LEA and CSEA side, that's close to $6 million. So just want to see, that's the result of those budget savings falling out at UA. So that's that piece. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the next slide. This is just a graphical presentation of our ending fund balance, as we mentioned. Next slide, please. And these are our other operating funds. So in addition to our general fund, we have all these funds. So one of them is our chartered school fund. I can't really see, but let me see. So,
You want the dollar amount? I'll read it to you.
yeah. So, all right. So our charter school fund, which is Fund 09, ended up with $2.8 million. We have our adult ed funds ended up with $378,000. Our child development, which comprised of our state preschool as well as Head Start, with $497,000 in ending fund balance. Our cafeteria fund, which provides services or administration of our child nutrition, with a healthy fund balance of $13.7 million. And we have our self-insurance funds, which administers our property and liability, workers' comp, as well as self-insurance benefits, with $47.5 million. So I know the negative one, it's at the end. So I think we mention this every year because of the GASB 75, the other employment benefits that requires us to book the actuarial liability, total OPEB liability. And last measurement date, we have about $102 million in unfunded OPEB liability. And these are all actuarial, and we have to book that as part of the governmental accounting standards to self-insurance fund. All right, moving on to the next slide, we have the construction fund. We have the four main construction funds. We have the Measure L with $13.4 million in ending fund balance. Our Measure U has $123 million. As you may recall, we issued the final authorization of Measure U, $91 million at the beginning of fiscal year 21-22, and that's why you see that huge ending balance there. As well as we have the Fund 25, which is the Capital Facilities Fund, which is mainly coming from our developer fees, with $28.3 million. And lastly, our Fund 40, which is our special reserve for capital outlay. It's coming, the money is coming from our general fund to support those capital outlay projects. And lastly, our debt service funds. We have two main debt service funds. One is Fund 51, which is our bond interest and redemption fund. that is used to pay for our general obligation funds. Those measure U and L. And we have the debt service fund, Fund 56, with $11 million in ending fund balance, and that's mainly for a certificate of participation in capital lease. All right, so the next one, all right, so this one right here, we felt that it's important. So normally you won't see this because, you know, but this year we felt that it's important for transparency for our community, our public to show this one right here. So every year we are required to at least provide 55% of minimum classroom compensation, which is attributed to classroom. This year, because of, like Ms. Andrews said, because of the COVID money that we received, it actually kind of lowered down our percentage. So this year, with the direction of the San Joaquin County Office of Education, we were given a guidance that we can that allows us to exclude those COVID money, because there are particularly what is that reserve? It's
The intent is not to
The intent
provide
is
for
not-
classroom salaries.
Right,
or classroom
right.
expenditure.
So after that additional reduction, our CEE percentage is 57.36 million. I mean, 57.36%. I'm so sorry about that. Yes. So I think that's it. Is there anything else you want to add? And this is first time that it happened because of all the COVID money that we received this year. So that concludes the presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Real quick, we'll be quick. We've settled, all the other employee groups have agreed to the 5.07% COLA, which that's state, right? And it was given to us by the state, 5.07, right?
For last fiscal year.
Right, for
Yes.
last fiscal year. Okay, so have we already paid the other groups? I'm sorry?
You were talking about the 0.8 and the additional.
No.
Okay.
Have we already paid the other groups, the 5.07? All that's been caught up back. So you've got a certain amount in reserve, I'm sure, for Leah, right? And how much is that total?
Yeah.
Should be about 15 million, right? Oh, no, it shouldn't be, because that would include everybody. About 8 million? Okay, all right, and that's in the ending fund balance, right?
Gotta be correct.
Okay. So you're saying that the ending fund balance actually only went up by 6 million, but in fact, that's settled, we're gonna be losing that 8 million out of there, right?
I believe the 6 million is the fallout. The
6 million's a fallout.
It
Yes.
doesn't include the eight.
The 8 million, it's gonna fall out also. I mean, the other way, it's gonna fall the other way.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neely. Mr. Nava, do you have any comments?
No, I have no comments. Great job, April and
Great job.
Nina. You guys did a great job. Say hello to your husband next time you see him. Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Oh, Mr. Freitas.
I joined my colleagues in a great job and move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Freitas, for the motion, and Mr. Nava for the second. I would also like to say thank you, and I'm sure I'll see you at the budget review, and I'll be wide-eyed and hoping to ask some intelligent questions. It's overwhelming what you do. I mean, with my AA in accounting, woohoo! You know, it doesn't really hold up to what you do, but I have a huge respect because I always thought I wanted to be an accountant at some point. Nope. So thank you. With that, is there any additional comments from student reps? No. Okay. Public comments? Leslie? You're good? Okay. Let's call for student vote.
Yes.
Great. And board vote? Board passes 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, thank you. It's a pleasure seeing you.
Mr. Connor, we probably won't even need you with these two dynamos.
So I'll see you.
Bye-bye. Mr. McKelligan. OAI 6.
Yes, President McFarland, approval of this item simply publicly acknowledges LPPA's reopener.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Neely, for the motion, and Mr. Nava for the second. Any board comments or public comments? Student comments? I'll call for the vote. Let's start with student.
Yes.
Perfect. And board vote? Board approves 7-0. Welcome back.
Madam President, routine personnel matters are presented for your consideration.
I move we approve personnel matters.
Thank you, Mr. Nava, for the motion, and Mr. Neely for the second. Any board comments? Yes.
I'm not on the board though, I was waiting for it. Just again, thank goodness we're hiring more counselors, yay. We definitely need them. You heard today from several teachers about the lack of teachers in the classroom and the lack of subs to fill in those positions. So I just have to keep asking, what are we doing to try and compete for teaching jobs? How are we being innovative and different and making sure that Lodi is just not just passed by, so that we can attract teachers for all the open positions we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Vote.
Vote, I apologize. This does not call for a student vote, so we'll go straight to board vote. Board passes 7-0. Communications from employee rep groups. You're it.
Oh, geez. Getting your exercises. Yeah, that's okay. I need
You're
it.
getting stairs in too. This is like a win.
Well, I should have sat way up there if I
There
really
you go.
wanted to get stairs in, but anyway. Dr. Washer, Mr. Young, members of the board. I don't know what to call Mr. Young. I call him assistant superintendent, or I'm not, but anyway. Too many titles. It's getting crazy. You heard from teachers today about some of the struggles that they're having in the classroom, and I could not have said it more eloquently. The lack of substitutes, the lack of teachers is just, it is really driving our teachers into the ground. We can't expect that teachers in secondary, as a routine, teach 120s, 130s, 140s. I've heard of a teacher teaching a 150, which is beyond me. I know of a site where we have teachers writing lesson plans for administrators that are teaching a class, and then being asked to be the teacher of record at that class. I have a major issue with that because they're not teaching the class. How can they be a teacher of record? I'm still hearing issues about air conditioning. It was nice to see those drone pictures of, the Lodi pool. But when Measure U passed and LEA reluctantly backed it, you asked for our backing, and we have huge debates about this. And this is exactly what happened, what we were afraid of. Is you promised the modernization and 10-year plans for schools. We got some great athletic facilities out of it, but we still have site after site after site that doesn't have adequate heating and air conditioning, where roofs leak. Ansel Adams today, they had classrooms that are over 100 degrees when we had a mild weather day. Mild weather day, but even the custodian said, yeah, it's like 100 degrees in here because the air conditioning doesn't work. And the way the building is, there's no circulation, okay? Because they have a center library and they have these classrooms out of it. There's no circulation in that building. How can teachers teach? How can students learn in this environment? How can we say that we're going to attract the best and the brightest teachers when this is the kind of facilities they're going to teach in? The healthcare costs, I understand where my teachers are coming from. I'm one of those ones who my plan's going to go up like in the 30% range. We've got to do better. As a matter of fact, I almost forgot, I have something for you. So I had a meeting late last week with some of my with some of my peers in other districts, and you can take one and pass it down. And this is just this is not even everyone in the county, but this is kind of what's going on in other districts. Tracy Unified, they're doing 6.99% for 22-23 after getting COLA for the last 2 years. They put another $275 on the medical cap for a total of $10,700 per person. They did a 6.51% one-time longevity for those teachers at 25 and 28 years. They increased their SPED stipend to 5%. We don't have SPED stipends, but a lot of other districts do because of the heavy paperwork and workload for SPED teachers. Linden, 7% for 22-23. They did an additional $1,200 on medical cap. I was not able to get a total from the teacher in time to present this. And then they did, and this is 2% longevity over 20 years with 10 plus years in the district. So if you spent 10 years in Linden and you're there at 20, you start to get an extra 2% on that column. Stockton Unified has not yet bargained for 22-23, but they did just under 12% combination because they didn't settle 2021 and 2022, 21-22. They did it together. So they just 11.99%, and they put in language to reduce their RSP caseload. And then Lincoln has not yet bargained for 22-23, but they did 5.07 for 21-22. They gave $2,000 toward the teacher induction fees, and since the nurses are part of their union, Abluda, they did $4,100 towards school nurse induction fees, which I did not know that school nurses needed to pay induction fees just like new teachers did, or go through induction programs, but I guess they do. So this is what our, and I haven't even got, and these districts were all doing better than we were on salary before this. So this is what we're competing with. This is what we have to look at as our competition. We can't just, go status quo. We're not even talking about signing bonuses and things like that. We didn't get into that, although I know that Stockton Unified is doing that, especially for positions that are in high demand, special education, science, math. Okay, they are doing that. We're not doing anything. What is Lodi doing? Are we just going to sit on our hands and say, oh, well, this is Lodi, livable, lovable Lodi, people will want to work here? They don't. They don't. If they were, we wouldn't have all these open positions on EdJoin. My site is missing 9 teachers. Okay, they haven't been able to recruit them. Delta Sierra is missing 8 teachers. I know that one of my neighbors teaches at McNair in the English department, and they have 4 vacancies just in English. Just in English. We've got to do better. If we're going to be innovative, if we're bringing forward new innovative plans, we've got to do better. And then we've got to work with the teachers to figure out ways to make this place more attractive. You haven't asked the teachers, you haven't asked bus drivers, you haven't asked food service workers. Why aren't people coming here? Maybe that's a question that you should have and be ready for the real life answers and figure out what you're going to do differently. I've already expressed my disappointment in the reorganization plan, and I would have loved, before this was even presented, like I said, I would have loved to see a case study where this is being done to show how it improves student learning. And I would have loved to have stakeholder input before it was even presented to the board. Or even after it was presented to the board to say, okay, we're gonna take a step back, and instead of waiting 2 weeks to re-present it, say we're gonna wait 4 for the second read. So in that time, we can go talk to stakeholders. We could see what teachers think, what nurses think, what psychologists think, what school counselors think. That would have been a great step. And that would have done a lot for the district to say, hey, we are working with all of our stakeholders. This is why you want to come to Lodi, because we are going to work with you and we're going to listen to you. So with that, I will just end in wanting to know if students at Lockford are going to start getting their lunches dropped off by drones from Amazon. Get one of those little Lunchables dropped off. Mom and Dad, Mom, I've got my lunch. They call, they have, a drone drop off the lunch. But what that policy is, we're going to have to come up with a policy with doing things like that. But we need more stakeholder we need more collaboration. We need more stakeholder input. We need to. I'm loving that our student stayed this late, and I want to thank her for doing so. And you want innovation? Don't listen to the people in the district office. Listen to the people who are on the ground. Let's rebuild it from the ground up, not from the top down. Thank you.
Board members, do we have comments?
Yes, I do have a comment.
I'm sure you do, Mr. Nava.
I got to get on the positive side on this. Mr. Freitas and I attended the Bear Creek game on Friday night. Exciting. It was their homecoming. My gosh, well-behaved crowd. I want to compliment Mr. Dosty here for helping us and getting the first-class operation to attend these football games. And the one thing that I detected a lot that Bear Creek won the game, and they exhibit a lot of pride by doing that. My gosh, they're gaining that pride. You think about us. Bear Creek is being reeled down. They never won a game. Well, they've won 2 games this year, and that helps the student body spirit. It helps them completely, and I could see it right on the crowd, the cheerleaders and all the people in the stands and walking around and getting these things that they do after school in the high school games. Secondly, I want to say that this teacher shortage is nationwide. It's not Lodi Unified, it's not Stockton Unified, it's the nationwide, and there's some worse areas in the east that they're having some problems. Some states are going to four-day weeks because of that. So if you just read the newspapers on that, we're not the only district that is a shortage of teachers and substitutes and all that kind of stuff. All right, secondly, I'd like to actually, last year, I proposed that we would give the teachers, increase the salary, the budget of the elementary and high schools and middle schools $200 so they could give their teachers the $200 that they use for incidentals. I was a teacher once, and you have to get some things like necessary things that they do with their teaching. I like to propose this time, and just to the president, and give it some thought for the board, $300 this year to give them to increase their budget for the schools, and that would be helpful for them. Thank you.
Real quick before we move on to Mr. Connexted, Mr. Nava, can I ask Dr. Washer to look into that and understand what we would have to do so it's a smoother operation?
Absolutely, sure.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
President McFarland.
Mr. Freitas.
Hello, Stockton. Always great to be back. This is my favorite meeting location of the year. Yes, I know
Way too
it's.
happy for that.
I know it is different. I know it's out of the ordinary, but I love that we involve Stockton in our board meetings. So thank you, my colleagues, for sitting at these folding tables. And we did get padded chairs tonight, so thank you, Dr. Washer and staff for your innovative ways of doing this. Dr. Dosey, love what you've done with the place, 100%. That football game, fantastic. 2 wins in a row for a team that hadn't won for 2 years. And talk about the crowd, standing room only. Right, Mr. Nava?
Yes,
Standing
sir.
room only.
Standing room only.
Stands were packed. School spirit is at a high. This is fantastic. So appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Freitas. Mr. Neely.
No, go ahead. Okay. Thanks for the break there. I needed a little
Cooling off
down
here.
time.
There you go.
Dr. Dosey, thank you so much for hosting us here tonight. We really appreciate it. And everything I hear is that Bear Creek is pretty happy with their principal. So
Pretty happy.
pretty happy.
We're really.
Really happy. I'll carry on now. We talked about the data collection earlier, and we actually gave out one award on that. I do want to make a note on this, that NIDA has been working on that since day one. They made up, and this is what you do. The leader made a decision, the principal, Sonia Renault, made a decision, so we're going to make this happen. And as a unit, as a group, they made it happen, and they were the very first ones with 100%. So kudos to them. Maybe we'll talk about that when we go out there for, there are new classrooms that they're opening up. Oh man, have you seen their other new classrooms? I mean, they're just opening up the multi-purpose, but the other new classrooms they got, really nice. Yeah, good stuff going on out there. I want to echo what Mr. Nava said about the teacher shortage. The teacher shortage is nationwide. It's just that way. It's in everything you read. I work with CSBA constantly, and we're always finding out about the teacher shortage. We've got more people to come forward. You know what? And then we talk about the pay scale at Lodi Unified being behind the others. Well, guess what? If we would approve the 12.43%, it wouldn't be. So that's another thing to think about. Also, I heard somebody say something about paying back a medical benefit, and I don't know where that came from. I never heard anything about that, so that doesn't make any sense to me. Sub shortage, we need to work on that. I was telling the superintendent, we need to maybe put a moratorium on training that requires us to bring in subs to cover for teachers when they go out of the classroom, because we need those subs right now to cover jobs that are when somebody's sick, when there is no teacher. To have subs on site with teachers there who have left the classroom to go train, that's not a good use of our people. So we need to work on that. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Mr. Neely. Mr. Knackstead.
Got 1 minute. 9:59.
Wait a minute. I talk the least of anybody on this board. One of the things that we're talking about with Mr. Young's program that I thought I'd like to bring up, there's a lot of talk about having to be a teacher for X number of years in order to administer a program. I'm not sure. I don't think that would be a bad idea. I think they should have some teaching experience, but to administer a program doesn't necessarily mean you had to be, you don't have to necessarily be a great football player to be a football coach. It's been my experience as in athletics, as an athletic director, or as an administrator, is that you hire good people and let them do their job. And So, you know, I think that's, you know, the idea that we have to have 10, 20 years as a teacher to do some of these administrative jobs, I think is not right. It's off base. Anyway, we need subs.
Thank you,
Enough
Gary.
said.
Mr. Heatherly?
Dare I?
Oh, you raised your hand, I like that.
Yes. Okay, I've got a couple of things. The first one, it's about school site budgets. Things are costing more, and I think it's time that we increase the per pupil allotment that we send to our school sites. And I think that if we just go like, make it for elementary, $50 per student, middle school, 75, high school, 100, I think that that would really give us a little kick into the things that we need to do at our sites that would take the pressure off of what the teachers provide, and things in secondary cost a lot of money. Go ahead and try to buy some microscopes, try to buy some physics supplies. Ag has a lot of needs and so forth. So I would like to see if we could have a report item on the possibility of getting that taken care of. And of course, I'm just pulling numbers out of the sky with the 50, 75, and 100. If it needs to be increased or decreased, I'd like to have that as a part of the discussion, but we just need to jumpstart and kind of concentrate to where the children are to make sure that we're providing all the different things that we do. And let's face it, educating kids is not cheap. So if possible, I would like to have information on that coming up, please. And of course, the sooner the better, so that we can see about getting it squared away for the remainder of the school year. Second item is kind of along those lines. There's a lot of extended learning money out there and those kinds of things to support learning for children. One of the things that seems to just happen and is overlooked a lot is academic teams that go on. It could be Science Olympiad, it could be speech and debate, it could be ag, they do pruning competition, they do competition with animals. Anything that they're doing above and beyond their ordinary day, I believe it should be very clear that the district is behind you and supports you. Science Olympiad, for one, obviously y'all know I'm kind of attached to that one. And as an example, a few years ago for high school, they were going to do a robotic arm competition. And everybody said, whoa, how are we going to afford this? And so the fundraising started just to do one of the 23 events. Aside from that, somebody who marries a academic coach ends up spending a lot of money as to why are we not supporting the competition? Why the entry fee for their competition? Some have it, some do not. But if they do have a fee for that, I think the district ought to support that. And I'm not sure the best way to do that, whether you need to have a budget code set up for that, or however. I believe that the money is there, there's a lot of it, and this would help extend the children's learning and show them that the district is behind them and supports them and will help them with all the consumables that happen and they go through a lot of material practicing for Science Olympiad. So I'd like to see us figure out a way that we could spend some of that COVID money for that. And the last item, Mr. Khan, are we still doing contact tracing in regards to COVID?
We're still reporting all cases, but not really contacts anymore.
Okay, very good. And when do you think we're gonna have to stop doing that? I mean, the President of the United States said that the pandemic is over.
AB 685 ends on July 1st, 2023. That's just notification to all community members. In terms of reporting cases, that would be up to CDPH and the County Public Health Services.
God, those
We're behind
Anyway.
you, Mr. Everett.
Yeah, I know. You know darn well I'm frustrated with CDPH when CDC, who's their boss supposedly, is saying, move on. They're not. Anyway, thank you very much. I just wanted to check in on that and see how we're doing with the COVID stuff. Thank you very much.
Yes, just wanted to make sure, tonight, Mr. Young produced a very interesting rearrangement, and we heard a lot about inequities, both salary, education, and social emotional learning. And hopefully through his framework and hard work, we can level out the field a little bit and have more people feel that they have a little stake in the game, so to speak. And we have less of the inequity that we're worried about academically, fiscally, salary-wise, and so forth. So I applaud him in taking a step, trying to reach a new solution. I like people that step out and try to do things. It's easy to criticize from the seats, like I like to do. But when you get up to take a bat, take a swing, that's hard to do, but you're doing it. So I appreciate what you've done in that regard. So congratulations on that. The other comment is, yes, I do want administrators to have teaching experience, just like I want a football coach to know football. All right, so you have to know what's going on out there. If I went out and coached a football game, the kids would probably laugh at me because I have no experience. Just like if I went into English classroom or elementary classroom, I wouldn't know what the hell I was doing. So get the people that know what they're doing because they've been in the trenches, and I support that. I want people that have scars from being in the classroom. So thank you very much for your presentation, and I know it was a lot of work, and you've taken some hits, and that's good. That'll make you stronger.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. I'd like to end on civility, finding happiness, being nice to one another. I don't want anyone on this board to take a shot on any one of our speakers. I want our intent when someone's speaking. I also want the people that stand at that podium to not take shots at our district, our employees, or our board. We can show our frustration. It's called free speech. I'm all in favor, but when we start tearing each other down regularly, we're never going to get on the same track. So I encourage everyone to find happiness, and I know I'll get a lot of backlash on that, and I'm absolutely okay with it. Life's hard. We know it in the classroom, we know it in our personal lives. We all have losses, some more than others. And I think if you choose to constantly look at the negative, you're going to find it. I think you either take a swing and you try to look at something more positive, or maybe just a little restraint. That's a crazy concept, to maybe hold it in one time. And if we can be a little nicer to one another, maybe, just maybe, we'll get the ship moving the way we want. Everybody wants it to move. So until then, have a lovely week, and we'll see everyone on the 1st. It is, Mr. Knob, I apologize, it's 10:09.
Oh, 10:09.
You did say ship.
You did say ship. Yeah, I might have.
You did say you were going to sabotage the bus.